Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Hannah, and I am back with another video. So by the title of this video, I will be speaking on not being afraid to sin. Now, sorry about my voice, honestly not the best, but I still not gonna let this prevent me from making my video. Alright, so stop being afraid of sin. Yes, I wrote it down on my phone, all what I wanted to say, so that way when I'm actually doing my video, I won't be confused on explaining, because sometimes I do have a issue of explaining exactly what I want to say. Alright, so you should not be afraid of sin. Yes, sin is bad, but being afraid of it only allows you to sin faster. There is no need or no way you should be afraid of sin. Stop running away from sin. Deal with it instead. You can never run away from sin. If you try to run away from sin, you just find yourself on a field of sins in different patterns. Which is why you should deal with it instead of running away from it. How can you deal with sin? Is by seeking God, sorry. God will convict your heart when you have sinned. When He does, ask Him to cleanse and wash you. Being pruned by God is also important and necessary. That's why you should have closeness and intimacy with Him. When you do that, you become aware of the reason of why God prunes. It isn't as harsh as the word sounds. But being pruned by God, you are given an opportunity to actually heal and become your best self. You can only become your best self in God, which is why you shouldn't be afraid of sin. Having a fear is different from a desire to do something. An example: if you're afraid of something, you won't ever want to see it. You will always be so fearful, and if you're like me who overthinks at times, you see scenarios of that thing without it even happening, and then when you check yourself, you actually react and you don't even know how you react until you're calm, because you're so fearful, you're panicking and all. Another reason why you should try to break free from the bondage of fear. Fear can really mess you up. So you see, you shouldn't be afraid to sin, nor have any desire to sin. Also remember that dealing with sin is better from running away from it. Is better than running away from it. Sorry. When you deal with sin and cleanse yourself from it, it no longer becomes part of you. Sin isn't who you are. Holding on to sin and not forgiving yourself prevents you from being free from sin. With God's help, His grace, His faithfulness, His forgiveness, you will be able to be free from sin. Only if you surrender it to Him. Surrendering the struggles also, and not tying God's hands when you do surrender it to Him. Meaning, you give it to Him, but you are still worrying and still not forgiving yourself, not accepting God's forgiveness. And I stopped here on my phone. Now, the more that you try the more that you are afraid of sin, one way or another, you will find yourself doing that specific sin. Alright, like there is certain sins that many of us, I say us because yes, I do it too. I always make a plan, or like I always used to make a plan, sorry, and like converse with myself and sometimes my family and certain people, and I'll always say that I don't want to do such and such things, because I mean, obviously, it's a sin and etc, etc, etc. And the more that I did not want to do it, the more that I find myself doing it later on in life. And now I can actually see for myself that because of the fear I had for me not to sin, that is the main reason, along with different struggles that I faced. That's like, so me being afraid of it along with the struggles, that's like it, like I let it overpower me so much that I just flow into the sin and fall into the sin. But of course, I humble myself before God and cleanse of myself. That is what we all should do. It's like, okay, first, don't beat up yourself if you are afraid of sin. Acknowledge and admit to yourself and to God that you, well, first to God and to yourself, that you are afraid of sin. That is why He is always the first person that you should go through to, sorry, in everything, no matter the situation. Always go to Him first, because God's grace, His guidance, sorry, His direction, His conviction, His discernment is what we all need to go through life journey, to go through different struggles in life. Guys, honestly, without God, we are nothing. That is why, again, I said you can only be your best self in God. Right now, I'm becoming my best self yet, because being pruned by God, again, it isn't as harsh as the word sounds. No, 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 no. I always used to think that being pruned is such a bad thing, until, sorry, that God actually allowed me to go through the pruning, and now I'm thankful that God actually pruned me, because when He prunes, He doesn't He doesn't prune like how people might prune and, like, the stuff on the wood, like when they just prune it. Nah, but when you're pruned by God, you go through your healing process. When you go through a healing process through God, with His help, you really, like, you just understand life. You understand why things happen in your life. You understand your life in a godly perspective. That is why, and again, He will always remind you of your um identity, the identity that He gave to each and every one of us. You are your best self in God. God designed us so perfectly the way that He created and wanted us to be. So again, I encourage each and every one of us to stop being afraid to sin. We shouldn't, yes, again, sin is bad, but we shouldn't have any desires either to sin, nor should we be afraid to sin. Deal with the sin. Stop thinking that you can run away from it, because really and truly you can't. You really cannot run away from sin. You cannot think that you can run away from it and then it will be over with. Nah, you have to deal with it. The same way that if you are struggling with something, you have to deal with it. If you don't deal with it, then you won't receive your breakthrough, you won't receive your deliverance. You have to, like, okay, you see that you have a struggle or weakness, admit it first, because if you don't admit it, then you'll keep thinking that it is not a weakness. The more that you don't admit that it is a weakness, you won't never see it as a weakness. You won't ever see it as a struggle. And then you maybe wonder, but why is such and such happening, or you know or maybe because of pride, you just don't want to see it as a weakness. But that's why we should cleanse ourselves always, daily, always, always, always. We can never think that we are fully prepared, because we are never fully prepared. The moment that you think that you are fully prepared, go back. Just go back and continue preparing yourself. Continue. Always, 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 always ensure that you make your calling and elections sure. And again, I remind you, stop being afraid of sin. Of course, let me say this. Yes, again, sin is bad. But being fearful of it, it drives you to a point where, since you're already afraid of it, that's again, you shouldn't. Fears, you have to overcome fears. There's a difference between being afraid and being God fearing. God fearing isn't you being afraid of the thing, no. Just like being God fearing is different from being afraid of God. Nah, you should not be afraid of God. But God fearing is different from having a fear. Look at it on your own and then you'll see exactly why I say that. But anyways, I will stop here. Thank you so much for taking the time out to actually watch this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I love you all always, and your girl is out. Love you all again. Kisses.